Hello YouTube. I thought I'd make a little video about a rainwater collection system I've been working on. This is probably the first video like this that I've made, but I put a lot of work into it, a lot of thought into it, so I thought it might be helpful to some other people as well that are thinking about doing this. So I'll try not to ramble on too much like many YouTubers do, but this is an RV cover we have at our property out near Dime Box outside of Houston, and we have an RV underneath, and you can see it's got a lot of roof area. This RV has I think a 40-gallon water tank, so it'll hold a lot of water, but you have to haul it out from Houston. So here you can see half of the roof of the RV cover, and it's about 40 feet long, and one half of it, this side of it, is about 14 feet wide. So 14 by 40, it's a lot of square footage. I calculated that with 1 inch of rain, if I collect all the rain off of that side, this side of the roof, it'd be over 370 gallons of water. So last weekend I came out and I put up a gutter along this entire side. And these are just standard gutters from Lowe's, aluminum 5-inch gutters. I found some fine mesh stainless steel leaf guards at Costco. You can't really see them, but I put them on top of the gutters. So all of the gutter has leaf guard on top to keep the heavy debris out and the leaves out. And then below that, you can see the normal downspout here. And then this is called leaf guard, I think. Anyway, it's made for rainwater collection systems, and it strains out the leaves. And it's sort of self-cleaning. You can see how it kind of flushes off. There's a screen up there. Now what's happening here below this T is this is called a first flush system. And basically you buy that as a kit, and right now the bottom is off. But the way this works is it's got that green ball goes inside here, and then there's a plastic screen here. And what happens is when it rains, this tube fills up with water first. And so that kind of rinses off the roof, and you don't collect this water. This is about 6 or 7 gallons. And there's some calculators online to tell you how big you need to make this tube. But basically you buy this 3-inch tube on your own separately, and then the kit comes with the ball, and that little black nozzle down there has an orifice in it. You have a few different choices of how big a hole you want down there, but after it fills up, it'll slowly drain itself, just dripping out that black nozzle. But like I said, the green ball floats to the top, and when it hits the top of that T, there's a little fitting inside there where the ball kind of seals up that area. Then the water starts flowing off to your collection tank. Alright, so this is all last weekend's work, and this weekend I'm out with some more wood, and I'm working on a foundation to set this 275 gallon water tote on. It's sitting on its side right now, but I'll tip it over here in a little bit. Basically what I've done is laid down some concrete blocks, and just starting with one as a reference point, kind of leveling the others and lining them up with the right dimensions. Doesn't have to be exact, but basically what I'm going to do is try to elevate this tank about 2 to 3 feet, and then the water from this will actually become a 2-inch pipe. I'll put an adapter right there. The 2-inch pipe will come overhead and then elbow down into the tank. So on this tank, these always seem to come in white plastic. So what most people do is you take the 2 bars off the top, the 2 metal bars. This is the top. Again, it's laying on its side. And you take this plastic tank out. It's very lightweight. And you wrap it with some heavy black plastic. Got it at Home Depot. Easy stuff. Still need to cut out the opening on the top, but I've got a 3-inch PVC coupler where the water will enter the tank. And then these tanks, they come with a valve So this is your ball valve, and then this is a standard 2-inch threaded piece that goes on here that you can get at Home Depot. So I'll come off of this and have a spigot in case I want to take water right off of the tank. And then I'll go to some 3/4 inch PEX, and basically I'm going to go underground with the PEX. I'm going to go back over to the RV, come out of the ground, and then build sort of a shallow cabinet here attached to this post that will house some water filters, a water pump. Basically, I'm going to try to create drinking water, filter this rainwater several times, and be able to feed the RV with drinking water, but also have a hose connection where it's only filtered once for non-drinking water, things like cleaning up meat. You know, when you like kill a hog or a deer, need to rinse things off, or spraying off the tractor or whatever. Okay, what I'm doing is making the base to hold the water tote, and my plan is to use these treated 2x6s and make this frame, and the tote will sit directly on this frame, and then there'll be some cedar legs. So I have lots of free cedar trees around that need to go, so I'll take down a cedar tree and put about a 8-inch diameter post bolted into each corner, and then I'll cross brace each one to make it stronger, because this thing is going to weigh over 1,000 pounds when it's full, close to 2,000 I think. So that's the plan, and I've got the frame started up, so now to go get some cedar. As you can see, lots of cedar trees to pick from, but this one right here I think is the one that needs to go. Been planning to remove this one for quite a while. Lots of others need to go as well though, because they do suck a lot of water out of the ground, take water from the bigger oaks that I want to protect. But anyway, let's take this one. I'm going to use my new DeWalt battery powered chainsaw for this. It does really well, and it's just a lot easier than starting up the gas chainsaw, so let's give it a shot. So after looking at the height of the T and where the water needed to flow, where the PVC needed to be, I've decided to raise the tank 32 inches. So there'll be a 32-inch wooden foundation on top of the concrete blocks and under the tank. And so I've cut the cedar tree down, and I cut 4 32-inch posts out of the trunk and cleaned them up a bit. Okay, I've got all 4 legs in place from the cedar post, and got a few screws in at the top, but still kind of leveling it out and adding more supports. So we'll do the diagonals next. But you see, this is 32 inches total height. Alright, we got the 45-degree braces in place for these screws here into the cedar post. I use these large Torx lag with an extra washer, and then for these others I use these, which work really well, also Torx. So I think we're good to go on supporting 2,200 pounds. Really all the weight is supported by these 2x6s right here, so the pallet that the water tote is on will rest only on these 2x6s all the way around. So I think that's going to work pretty well with 16 of these big bolts into the cedar post. Yeah, 4x4s would have been easier, or just putting it on cinder blocks, but this uses some materials from the property, which is nice, and I think it'll look a little better than cinder blocks. So now let's hook up the tractor and move it. Now I've got the tank in place solidly on its foundation, and I've decided to add this one more layer of 2x4s, treated 2x4s going around the perimeter, just to give a little bit larger base for the tank to sit on, since that's where all the weight is. And then also installed the overhead line, and you can see I've got a 2-inch to 3-inch adapter here. Got a little support here I found at Home Depot to help hold the 2-inch PVC that goes over to the downspout. And I put another 3-inch support here from, I guess that came from Lowe's, and that gives some more support to the first flush down pipe. I also glued the bottom fittings for this pipe and the upper into the upper T here. Some of these fittings you don't really have to glue. They're not under pressure, and it gives you more flexibility in the future, you know, to move things around. But I found that this bottom one did fall off when it was full of water. So you do need to glue some of these that support some weight. The water gets pretty heavy, I guess. The other thing I was going to mention is about the overflow. You can see there's no overflow up here. At first I was going to put the overflow coming out of the top, put a little T here, have it come over to the side and down to the ground, and you have to put a screen on it so that no mosquitoes get in. But then I saw one YouTube video where the overflow was off of the outlet instead, and so you have a T and you have a pipe going up to the level that you want to overflow at, which would be near the top here. Then you do a 90-degree angle and down, and that way every time it rains you collect all the rainwater and you flush out old water. And that made a lot of sense to me, so I think I'm going to try that. But most of the systems I see have an overflow up here, so you might want to think about that. It's possibly better to circulate the old water. I think this water is going to sit here for months at a time and not get used, so I may have to add a little bit of chlorine to it. But I think flushing it out every time it rains is probably a good idea. And so, you know, like I said, 1-inch rain here is going to completely flush out this whole tank, so that'll be a good thing. What I've done here is I've put a overflow on the front, on the outlet of the tank. So the way this will work is this will, as the tank fills up, this vertical pipe will fill up also, and before the tank gets full it will overflow out of this outlet here. This you may recognize as a dryer vent. It's just something that I found that would easily allow water to flow out, but should close up and not allow mosquitoes to get in. So not all that pretty. I might change it later, but for now it should work. So we've got the valve here, got the threaded piece glued to a 2-inch pipe, got an elbow, another 2-inch pipe, then we've got a sanitary T, they call this, and this goes up to our overflow and out that way. Put a support here just to help support all this PVC. And then the water that comes out, I've reduced it here to a 1-inch. I went ahead and put a valve here, and then also have a spigot here in case I want to take water directly out of the tank or drain the tank. And then this will be the feed to the water system. So this is 3/4-inch PEX, and the plan is to go underground over to this area and then come up and have pump and filters and all that in a shallow cabinet there. So that's about it for this weekend. I think it is now functional and should fill up with water at the next rain, or at least start collecting water. And again, the beauty of this type of overflow is that it should continually flush the old water out the bottom when the tank is full and it rains. So we'll see how well that works out, but sounds like a good idea. Also tied down the tank to the wooden stand there just in case. Shouldn't go anywhere, but you never know. So this is kind of a quick visit this weekend just to see how things are working in the rain. But the one thing I did do is I added this downspout to the overflow just to get it a little bit closer to the ground so it doesn't splatter as much. I'll probably put a support right here, kind of like that one, to hold it steady. But I think that'll work fairly well. Well, it's another beautiful day in Dimebox, Texas, and I'm out here doing the next phase on the rainwater collection system. So today I'm hoping to get the water line in and the sediment filter and the pump. So I'll show you guys what I've done so far. I built this at the house and brought it out. It's going to be basically a filter and pump cabinet. I didn't have much to anchor it to, so I just bolted it to this post here, and it seems pretty steady. So how this is going to work is we're going to have a sediment filter here. The PEX line, 3/4 inch PEX line, will come up from the bottom over and into the filter, and then I'll put the pump right here. All this space above will be used for additional filtering for drinking water. So I've dug a little trench here, gone underground with the PEX. I've still got a few inches of water in there, so we should be able to test this out when it's complete. Okay, I've got the PEX all clamped in place. It's going underground. It's a pretty shallow ditch. Don't really need it to be too deep. Comes up, goes through a hole in the bottom of the cabinet. So got a nice tight hole there. Comes up. This is a whole house sediment filter, and the idea is that you can just, when you see buildup in the bottom of this, you can just open this valve, flush it out the bottom. I've got a hose I'm going to put on here and go out the bottom of this cabinet, so it just goes straight out. And then I had to determine what the inlet and the outlet was on this pump, because they didn't go to the trouble to label it. So it turns out I had to mount it this way, and I didn't want to waste too much space in my cabinet, so I put a couple of elbows here to bring this down. And I'm going to add, of course, the PEX clamps along here. This will come up, and we'll put a T here, and I'm going to go out this wall here and have a faucet, and then it'll come up, and I'm going to plug it for now, but eventually this will feed some more filters along here. So we've got the pump plugged in. We've got water coming from the tank. Just got a couple inches of water in the tank. We got the flush, the red hose going out the bottom. We got it hooked up to a faucet. I'm going to finish mounting that later. And then I've got a plug at the top, and that will feed over into some filters later. But check this out. Pretty good pressure. Very nice. Automatically cuts off and on, of course, with the pressure switch. I found a good spot on top of the RV, completely dry, where I can check out the action on the system. So this is just the kind of rain I was hoping to be out here for. Extremely heavy. Great to see the water collection system in action. It filled up. It went from 3/4 to full in about 15 minutes. Now it's overflowing. So very happy. Well, I'm feeding water directly to the RV now, and it's working out really well. So just to wrap up this video, I'll kind of give a final update here. Got water coming out the back. This is water that's been filtered twice. So we have the sediment filter and then the 5-micron filter. So that feeds the entire RV, the shower, the faucets, all that. And then inside the RV, I've got a gravity feed ceramic filter that I'm using to make drinking water. I did have to change some of this out a couple weeks ago. So you may notice this looks a little different. What happened was there's a piece called a ball flange. It's where the ball floats up and rests against. And the instructions were not very clear on how to install that, and I ended up getting it in upside down and gluing it in. So I had to work with the vendor, and they sent me a different first flush system, which is 4 inches instead of 3. So I got a bigger one now. It has a 4-inch storage pipe coming down, and I had to put some converters in here to take it down to 3-inch for the end piece here. One comment on this Overflow. This hasn't been a problem, but one time it did seem to create a siphon here, and it drained out about 3 inches of water out of the tank, and then it stopped. So it hasn't been a big problem, but that's something to keep in mind, that if this completely fills with water, theoretically it could create a siphon and drain your whole tank. That's not really happening here for whatever reason, but if it does, I'll probably put a little vent at the top of this pipe here just to let a little air in and stop the siphon. And I've also added a door here to the pump filter cabinet, and I've run an electrical circuit in from the top, came in through the side, installed a plug, ran some power down to this switch, then I cut the plug off the pump and hardwired it into the switch. So this will be my main on-off switch. Every time I come out here, I'll turn that off and on so that it's not on when I'm not here. And this again is the 5-micron filter. It's still completely clean at this point. And this is the sediment filter, which is also staying clean. I have not noticed any sediment at all in that filter. So the water is coming in crystal clear from the tank with just that screen up there and the screens on the gutters. So it's a really good setup. Seems to work well. And again, this is the water coming off that's only filtered through the sediment filter, just used for your basic garden hose. I did do some power washing yesterday for about an hour, and I used about 12 inches of water, so maybe 60 to 70 gallons. So I was pretty happy with that. Everything worked really well. All right, that wraps up this video. Until the next project,